Hi there, and welcome back. For this video, I'm hoping to show you how I'm going to go through and try to determine if this truck has a head gasket leak or not. We've had the truck for about 2 weeks that we've been driving it now, and we've been noticing a fairly steady yet intermittent coolant loss, and I have not been able to find any leaks visually, and I have not been able to find any leaks by just driving it and then parking it and expecting to find a puddle, and there isn't one. So I suspect the head gasket, and the way that I'm going to go about it, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this UV dye in. This is just off the shelf from like O'Reilly's or AutoZone, and drive it around, and then hopefully we'll find that fluorescent dye show up somewhere. So that would be useful if there's a slow leak that's drying off by the time I park it, or a fine mist spraying in the engine bay that I'm not catching. If that fails and I don't find anything with that, I'm going to utilize the test long and use this borescope and enter into each cylinder that I can access and see if I can't find any coolant or what looks like to be a washed cylinder. So that's the plan. We'll walk through those steps and see what we find out. Regarding the coolant leak while we've been driving, I've been keeping track of it by marking in pencil on the coolant reservoir here. So my daily drive cycle to go to work is about 30 miles down a mountain, going from 2,700 feet to about sea level, and then back up again, and I do that in about a 60-mile round trip. So when I noticed we were starting to lose coolant, I topped it back up, and then I just started marking it after each drive cycle. So the first one, you can see I didn't lose a whole lot, barely anything perceptible at all. I was hoping it wouldn't move past this point. The second drive cycle, I lost about a centimeter height of coolant. Third drive cycle, almost 1.5 to 2 centimeters, and then at the very end another centimeter or so. What I found interesting is that the amount of coolant lost in each drive cycle is not really consistent. So if you think about the volume of a sphere, your largest volume in a slice is going to be in the center of the sphere. So it's interesting that between 60 and 120 miles, I consumed a very small slice, and then you would expect, if it was a consistent loss, for this slice in the center to be smaller than this one. But it was almost, 1.5 to double this one. So that was interesting. Not really sure what to make of that, unless, different temps, different things are happening. If there is a leak, maybe it's spraying out under different load. I could be driving different, or maybe it is head gasket and the head is just shimmying or pressurizing and leaking a little bit differently than it does in these other drive cycles. But interesting nonetheless. So we'll go ahead and put in the tracer dye and see where we end up. Leak detection dye off the shelf from O'Reilly's. I've already put it in this syringe. I'm just going to go ahead and open this guy up. Alright, there we go. Got most of it. So I'll go ahead and put the rest of this in the expansion tank, and it should suck it and circulate it down. So with that in, I'll go ahead and I will just quick throw the lights off, and we'll see where we spilled it. Just looking in here, we do not have really any sign of coolant loss. Nothing. We do have where I spilled down there. There's a little dribble there. I'll pull the rag out and just see. Yeah, so the something's going to show up there because that's where I dribbled putting it in. And it looks like I splattered over there just a bit. So we'll get some pictures of all that before we go on the run. The thermostat lights up, which that was kind of cool. And then there's some funky stuff over on the fender well there. So there's the cap. It's kind of showing up in the cap. There's just a cap of coolant there. But if I take the bottle and I just drip some in there, just like that, it's like boom, and there it is, super fluorescent. So all it needs is to come into contact with the coolant, and it's really activated. So we'll go ahead, dump the rest of this in the coolant bottle, and we'll go on a drive tomorrow and see how it does. Down the hill, and now we're on our way back up, pretty much back home. Yeah, truck did great. We probably didn't see temps any higher than 70 degrees Celsius on the way down, and then on the climb back up we got up to, I think, a high of 86 degrees Celsius. The thermostat should be opening at, I want to say 86, because I replaced it with a lower temp opening thermostat. Yeah, so everything's running as it should, no overheating. Little puffs of white smoke here and there, but generally nothing out of the ordinary. One of my hypotheses is that because it is the guide pins, and I think the head is just shimmied just a bit, I don't think it leaks consistently. I think as it warms up, it just shimmies over and it just squirts a little bit of coolant into the chamber and then combusts it off, because it doesn't seem to be a consistent consumption, which is fairly annoying. So anyway, let's get this thing back. We'll throw it under the UV light and see if we see any leak. Looking for the leak. This really isn't anything popping out as far as obvious, you know. That's the heater bypass I put in. Nothing around the cap. Nothing down there. Nothing around the coolant going into the fuel cooler. Don't really see anything there. Around the elbow, nothing along there. Just a reminder, this is what it would look like if it did show up. Those down there, there you go. That's what I spilled yesterday. Nothing down there. There's some weird discoloration on the shields, but those we saw yesterday looking. And yeah, there's just not really anything leaking. And I already checked the bottom side and there's nothing down there. So we didn't find any leaks with the leak tester, so the next step will be to insert this borescope into the engine and see what we can see. Basically it's pretty simple. It's just a cheap one off of Amazon. You've got your screen, you have your borescope itself. This is the little 5mm in diameter camera. It's actuated by this lever here, so you can bend it around corners and then push it in. So yeah, we'll go ahead and enter this through the glow plug holes and see what we can see. Since this is 5mm in diameter, it should have no issue going through the M8 glow plug hole. The first thing we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll grab the connectors. Just pop those off, and these are very brittle, and I think I'm gonna need to work on redoing these somewhat because they're just falling apart.
Oh, that one came off okay. So yeah, see, there's still tubing on all these. So I'm gonna have to fish that off. So that right there is the broken boot off the glow plug. There it is. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get some more boots because these are all brittle and breaking. All right, so with those off, get my socket.
All right, we've got our 4 glow plugs out. Starting from front to back, they're getting progressively dirtier. So I kind of suspect that cylinder is going to look really clean and washed. So maybe the leak is up front. So we have the borescope. So there it is. There's the little guy. We'll go in. Let's see. We can get it in there. I don't know if I'll be able to see in there. It's a pretty tight fit. No, maybe it won't fit in there. Oh. Thought I saw a flash of green. Oop. Oh. I think we have some fluorescent green in there. Oops. Oh yeah. There it is. Can't see it very well, but it is in there. So right now we have the borescope stuck in the head. It turns out that my 3 millimeters of clearance to the 8 millimeter hole with a 5 millimeter camera is not enough to necessarily get it back out. But what is interesting is now that we're in there, if we look right there, that looks like fluorescent dye. So I think we definitely have a head gasket problem. I don't know why else that would be green. So I think what I'll do is I'll futz around with this a bit more and try to get it out. And if I can't, I will remove the head with the borescope in it. So quick recap, we went ahead and we put in tracer dye, ran the truck for a couple runs, and checked the engine bay under UV light for any external leaks, fine mists, drips, that kind of thing. No leak was detected. So the next step was to then take the borescope and enter it into cylinder number 1 by the glow plug hole to check for coolant. We did see coolant sitting on top of that piston and in the piston cup. So there is indeed a problem with the head potentially being cracked or the head gasket. So we will be taking this apart, and to add to that, the borescope is now stuck in the glow plug hole. I was unable to get it out. So I will be taking all of this apart with the borescope still attached. So if you're going to do this at home, don't stick your borescope in there. If it has a 5 millimeter diameter camera head, it might get stuck. So hopefully you found that informative, somewhat instructive. Maybe don't do some of the things that I did. And if you like it, we'll see you in the next one.